Devahutir Uvacha Purusham Pakritir Brahman Na Vimur Na Vimun uh, Vimunchati Karhichit Anyonya Prasraya Tavachcha Nityat Vad Anayo Prabhu. And the translation of this verse says, Sri Devahuti inquired, my dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is their separation possible? This is a good verse. Let me read it again. Sri Devahuti inquired, my dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is their separation possible? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, EJ. Devahuti, the mother of Kapila Deva, here makes her first inquiry. Although one may understand that spirit, soul, and matter are different, their actual separation is not possible, either by philosophical speculation or by proper understanding. The spirit soul is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, and matter is the external potency of the Lord. The two eternal potencies have somehow or other been combined, and since it is so difficult to separate one from the other, how is it possible for the individual soul to become liberated? By practical experience, one can see that when the soul is separated from the body has no real existence. And when the body is separated from the soul, one cannot perceive the existence of the soul. As long as the soul and the body are combined, we can understand that there is life. But when they are separated, there is no manifested existence of the body or the soul. This question, asked by Devahuti of Kapila Deva, is more or less impelled by the philosophy of voidism. The voidists say that consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there is ultimately nothing but voidness. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavad philosophy. Haribol. Yeah. Well, it's all speculation here. So let me read the verse again. Sri Devahuti inquired, my dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? It's a very good question. Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is their separation possible?
Does it give release?
Huh?
The question is, does material nature ever give release to the spirituals?
Yeah. Does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Okay. Report again. Devahuti, the mother of Kapila Deva, here makes her first inquiry, her first question. Although one may understand that spirit, soul, and matter are different, their actual separation is not possible, either by philosophical speculation or by proper understanding. The spirit soul is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, and matter is the external potency of the Lord. The two eternal potencies have somehow or other been combined, and since it is so difficult to separate one from the other, how is it possible for the individual soul to become liberated? Good question. By practical experience, one can see that when the soul is separated from the body has no real existence. And when the body is separated from the soul, one cannot perceive the existence of the soul. As long as the soul and the body are combined, we can understand that there is life. But when they are separated, there is no manifested existence of the body or the soul. This question, asked by Devahuti of Kapila Deva, is more or less impelled by the philosophy of voidism. The voidists say that consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there is ultimately nothing but voidness. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavad philosophy. Okay, very interesting verse and purport. Actually, this concept of voidness is actually false. It's let's say, a it's what you would call voidness. So there's no such thing as voidness. There's always going to be, let's say, consciousness of the living entity, but one can somehow or other uh, convince themselves that there is such a thing as voidness. And it's like uh, putting yourself to sleep or uh, basically uh, artificially uh, and thinking that you've achieved this voidness. Voidness means that you're no longer conscious of yourself. And uh, so Devahuti's question of her son, Kapila Deva, it says here, is more or less impelled or forced by the philosophy of voidism. The voidists say that consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there is ultimately nothing but voidness. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavad philosophy. Well, this is false. This is not true. This is just something that is speculated by the Mayavadis. Voidism means nothing. Everything sort of disintegrates, and there's no longer, let's say, perception of self. But that's just an imagined type of consciousness. It's not. It's not actually true. As long as the soul and the body are combined, we can understand that there is life. But when they are separated, there is no manifested existence of the body or the soul. This question, asked by Devahuti of Kapila Deva, is more or less impelled by by the philosophy of voidism. The voidists say that consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there is ultimately nothing but voidness. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavad philosophy. All this is false. It's just the speculation of the Mayavadis. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Let's see what Prabhupada says. Uh, Verse number 18. As there is no separate existence of the earth and its aroma, or of water and its taste, there cannot be any separate existence of intelligence and consciousness. Interesting verse. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The example is given here that anything material has an aroma. The flower, the earth, everything has an aroma. If the aroma is separated from matter, the matter cannot be identified. If there is no taste to water, the water has no meaning. If there is no heat in the fire has no meaning. Similarly, when there is no want of intelligence, spirit has no meaning. Very nice purport. Uh, this is basically if a person is like intoxicated, uh, then there's no meaning to what they are thinking, uh, and they're just thinking nonsense things that don't have any significant meaning, and that's why it gives the example. It says, if there is no taste to water, the water has no meaning. If there's no heat in the fire has no meaning. Similarly, when there is want of intelligence, spirit has no meaning. Yeah, someone is ignorant and does stupid things like smoke marijuana or try to commit suicide, things like that, then their desire to live has no meaning. They're trying to kill themselves.
Mm.
Let's go to text 19. Hence, even though he is the passive performer of all activities, how can there be freedom for the soul as long as the material nature acts on him and binds him? Okay, that is a good verse. Hence, even though he is the passive performer of all activities, what does that mean? A passive performer? That means he's being forced, basically.
Mhm.
How can there be freedom from the soul as long as material nature acts on him and binds him? Okay, good question, Devahuti. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the living entity desires freedom from the contamination of matter, he is not given release. Actually, as soon as a living entity puts himself under the control of the modes of material nature, his acts are influenced by the qualities of material nature, and he becomes passive. All right, so that means that when we become illusioned by false identification and so forth, uh, we're being controlled. We are passive. We're being controlled by the material, by Maya, basically. So therefore, we're not actually in control of our mind and our senses. They're being controlled by some outer force. which is called Maya. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite Kriyamanani Gunai, the living entity acts according to the qualities or modes of material nature. He falsely thinks that he is acting, but unfortunately, he is passive. That's the point right there. We're not in control of our activities. We're being controlled by the illusory energy. In other words, he has no opportunity to get out of the control of material nature because it has already conditioned him. Well, you could say that's like the example of the person who's a drunkard. They have no longer control of their mind and senses. They're always engaging in alcohol or drugs or something. So it's like they're being controlled by something outside of themselves. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also stated that it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature. One may try in different ways to think that everything is void in the ultimate issue, that there is no God, and that even if the background of everything is spirit, it is impersonal. This speculation may go on, but actually, it is very difficult to get out of the clutches of material nature. Devahuti poses the question that although one may speculate in many ways, where is liberation as long as one is under the spell of material nature? Oh, okay, that's a fair question. The answer is also found in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, 7th chapter, 14th verse. Only one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna, Mam Evaye Prapadyante, can be freed from the clutches of Maya. In other words, what it's saying here is without a relationship to Krishna, it's impossible to be free from the clutches of Maya. But once one develops the relationship with Krishna and how does one enter into that relationship, it's by surrendering oneself under the with the help of the bona fide spiritual master, surrendering oneself to Krishna and being advised and overseen by the spiritual master. Then, and that's why it says, only one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna, Mam Eva Prapadyante, can uh, be freed, can one be freed from the clutches of Maya. So, this surrendering. Now, someone can surrender to alcohol, someone can surrender to something else. But when one surrenders to Krishna, then there is a possibility of being freed from the clutches of Maya. What does Maya do? Maya controls us, just like someone who becomes an alcoholic. He's controlled not by his own, let's say, own mind, but by some outside force that makes him addicted to drinking alcohol or taking drugs. They're no longer really in control of themselves. Since Devahuti is gradually coming to the point of surrender, her questions are very intelligent. Obviously, you wake up when you realize, wait a minute, I really don't know what I'm doing in life. And then one becomes inquisitive, starts asking questions of bona fide personalities. What is this? What is that? Please explain this to me. How can one be liberated? How can one be in a pure state of spiritual existence as long as he is strongly held by the modes of material nature. This is also an indication to the false meditator. There are many so called meditators who think, I am the supreme spirit soul. I am conducting the activities of material nature. Under my direction, the sun is moving and the moon is rising. They think that by such contemplation or meditation, they can become free. But it is seen that just 3 minutes after finishing such nonsensical meditation, they're immediately captured by the modes of material nature. And see, Prabhupada is like brilliant. There are people that meditate like that. They think they sort of put themselves in an illusory state of mind and think that they're actually controlling nature. They're actually they call it what is it? They yeah they uh, they tell nature what to do. Basically,
Yeah,
there's a name for that. That's
manifestation. You know, it's
huh?
positive.
No, not manifestation.
They
They
order.
order. They
They
order.
order the nature. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
there are people like that that think that they've developed this uh, let's say power of ordering nature.
I mean, actually, this reminds me. There was actually a video of the fake Nityananda saying that one day he asked the sun to come 1 hour later,
Right.
and he came later, something like that. And he says, like, we'll find that video. What is it's exactly that.
And they actually believe that they can order nature.
But this is in the older days, Maharaj, right? Like these days, I don't see anybody. They say they manifest, but ordering nature, nobody talks about that. In the olden days, there were rishis who could order nature because of their powers.
Nityananda says it.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, the idea that you can order nature is completely false. It's a dream state. It's not real. Um, well, when you're in a dream state, I sometimes when people take LSD, at one point they believe that they can fly through the sky and they'll jump off a cliff or something and kill themselves. It's and the other craziness is some people think that you can order nature. You can tell nature what to do, and they uh, they do that. They say, they think, okay, now I order nature in the name of God to do this or that or something like that. They think that it's possible to actually order nature. That means that they're not conscious of God. They're conscious. They think that they have somehow or other achieved the power of God by ordering nature. Okay, so uh, they think that by such, okay, let's go. There are many so-called meditators who think, I am the supreme spirit soul. I am conducting the activities of material nature. Under my direction, the sun is moving and the moon is rising. They think that by such contemplation or meditation, they can become free. But it is seen that just 3 minutes after finishing such nonsensical meditation, Prabhupada is so good, nonsensical meditation, they are immediately captured by the modes of material nature. Immediately after his high sounding meditation, a meditator becomes thirsty and wants to smoke or drink. He is under the strong grip of material nature, yet he thinks that he is already free from the clutches of Maya. This question of Devahutis is for such a person who falsely claims that he is everything, that ultimately everything is void, and that there are no sinful or pious activities. These are all atheistic inventions, meaning speculations. Actually, unless a living entity surrenders under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as instructed in Bhagavad Gita, there is no liberation or freedom from the clutches of Maya. There are actually people like this. They order nature, right? And they meditate like that, and they think that they have now achieved some type of power over nature. And the whole thing is false, but they claim that they have achieved such powers, and some people believe them. That's why it says this question of Devahutis is for such a person who falsely claims that he is everything, that ultimately everything is void, and that there are no sinful or pious activities. These are all atheistic inventions. Actually, unless a living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as instructed in Bhagavad Gita, there is no liberation or freedom from the clutches of Maya. So the people who order nature to do something, uh, these type of people, and there are people like that believe that they can order nature, that they can control nature by their order. They'll say, and in the name of Jesus, I command that you do this or that. Have you ever heard Facebook say that? Go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj. One time, Maharaj, one person came in food truck, and that person used to come regularly, not every day, but quite often. So one day he was explaining me that yesterday night he was ordering the nature. He was explaining in detail to me. Okay. I didn't say anything, but
There are people like that. A lot of people like that.
like in the night, what he did, it's ordering the nature and
Yes, yes,
totally,
yeah.
totally off.
See, it's not a fairy tale. It's a fact. There are people like that think that they have the power to order nature. They'll say, well, in the name of Jesus, I order you. Say it out loud also like that.
Maybe for Maharaj,
Yeah.
about this demigods can, I would say, not order nature, but they do the action for the nature. So how are they functioning? Like, are they functioning at will, or are they praying to the Lord before they take those actions?
Well, they have some supernatural powers, but where did they get those powers from? They get it from Krishna. It's not something that they own. It's something that they have, let's say, been given on a temporary basis, because of whatever their uh, performance of tapasya or whatever. So temporarily they have some powers, and if they misuse them, then they lose them. If they use them correctly, then I mean for good things, then Krishna lets them have that power for a certain period of time. But usually, people get puffed up because they have some powers, and then eventually they get defeated.
The same applies to like the god of wind, god of ocean. All of them also same rules apply, Maharaj. Like if they misuse that power, they have some power. I mean, powers and some independence. If they misuse it, the Lord will take those things away.
Yes. Yeah. There was this one person called Rasputin. He was I don't know what you would call it, like the guru or the advisor of the royal family.
Stars.
Yeah, of the czars. Yeah, and he had these like mystical powers in a sense. So he used those powers, so-called powers, to control the the royal, the royal family. But ultimately, the whole thing collapsed. The royal family was thrown out by a revolution of the people. And I don't know what happened to Rasputin. I'm not sure if he was killed or what happened to him. But somehow or other, he developed control over the royal family in Russia, you know. And they were, and even if you look at his picture, why don't you look him up, Rasputin? Look at his picture, he looks like a demon.
Grigori Rasputin.
So he's Russian. There used to be songs also.
Is it Grigori Rasputin?
Yeah, he looks like a demon. That's him. So Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin was a Russian mystic and faith healer. So he was the confidant or let's say, the advisor and personal, let's say, guru of Tsar Nicholas and his wife. And he was murdered by Prince Yusupov and someone else, whatever. What really, okay, you're talking about what really happened during the murder of Rasputin. Russia's, what, madman. Yeah. So he was a Russian mystic and faith healer. So you have these faith healers, they think that they can control nature. And you have the modern equivalent of it are uh, you have faith healers today. And they'll say, in the name of Jesus, I will, I order the devil to leave this person, and they do all these types of so-called, uh, uh, so-called what powers to free people from sicknesses or physical, let's say, uh, sick, physical problems, and they order Jesus, in the name of Jesus. Uh, so there's still stupid, crazy people like that. I'm trying to think of what the modern evangelists. Some of them are like that. They do these, uh, I ordered the devil to leave to leave you. They have these seances where they ordering the devil to leave the body of a person. Um, so these are the modern evangelists who use these techniques to, to claim that they have these powers, right? Why don't you look them up? The modern evangelists who claim to have the powers to control nature or to uh, order the devil to leave a person's, a person who's like under the control of Maya to leave the person alone. They're able to order the devil to go away. And there's pictures of them. You know, they look like demons. You know, when they're doing this, what do you call it? They're uh, getting rid of the demon, getting rid of the ghost or something. You know, and when they do their so-called ghost busting, they look like demons. What does it say?
So there is a book called How to Order the Universe in Amazon.
How to Order the Universe. Yes,
In Amazon.
on Amazon.
Yeah, we can order that one.
You can order
Whether we'll order the universe or not.
Yeah,
We can order that.
You see how crazy people are. You can make money by ordering in nature.
So everybody wants to control, Maharaj. They want something in their control that they can feel confident and yes. Okay.
How much does the book cost?
$17.
Oh, that's cheap. That's good. For $17 only, you can order the universe. Wow.
The novel, okay. Oh, that's a story. Story. Yeah.
So, do you have a picture? Do you have a picture of
So that's the exorcism.
Rasputin? Rasputin. Go ahead.
Exorcism.
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 Well, that means getting rid of demons. Getting rid of a person who is under the spell of some, demon. So they have these seances where they're, oftentimes there are, these so-called uh, exorcists who have these seances where someone that comes to them and they think that they have they're being controlled by a demon, and they have these seances where they try and chase the demon away. And sometimes the person dies during that seance because they do all kinds of crazy things. Why don't you look that up? Um, they're called Ghostbusters. And, people, I mean, if you go to places like, uh, the, there are people that think they have these powers, and other people come to them, and then they have these seances where they try and tell the devil or the ghost to go away, leave the person alone. The best thing to do, like for example, Prabhupada once rented a house that was very cheap. And the reason it was very cheap was because people believed there was a ghost that was inhabiting that house and nobody wanted to rent it. But Prabhupada rented that house and he sat down in a chair uh, and he started chanting Hare Krishna. And eventually the ghost appeared in front of him. But Prabhupada just kept chanting. And eventually the ghost left. And now he had a house that was very cheap because people believed that there was a ghost and they were afraid to rent that house. But Prabhupada rented that house for very cheap. And the ghost left because Prabhupada just sat down and chanted Hare Krishna. Right. I looked that up. Srila Prabhupada rents a house for very cheap because it was ghostly haunted. And he basically chased the ghost away. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No, no, there was a popular movie called The Exorcist,
Yes.
and I mean, I never read the storyline. Now
It's
I
what?
just asked for the storyline. So
Uh,
apparently there is a small child. She gets possessed by a ghost, like a 12-year-old child,
yeah.
and she starts exhibiting, kind of
Supernatural powers.
supernatural, voices, as well as, even the body, starts, exhibiting certain violent behaviors and so on. So now the mother wants to save her child, so she reaches out to the father at basically at the church, who had some experience, but the father himself has some insecurities, his own faith.
For exorcist?
No, the father or the priest.
Mm.
So basically, as Maharaj is saying, like the ghosts look for the weaknesses on people. So it first, whatever, took over the child, right? Now the father who's trying to help the child,
The
they try to do
priest.
certain,
The priest.
the priest, basically, the priest who's trying to help. So now the demon or the ghost targets him, and then eventually he eventually takes the ghost on him, and then in order to save the child, he commits,
Suicide.
suicide. So it's a complex story,
I
but
know. Listen, it's dangerous trying to be a ghostbuster
hmm,
because the ghost can take control of you. Also, it depends if you have, impure desires. Uh, there was this one Jewish guy. He was somewhat of a devotee, and he was making money by having these ghost busting seances. He'd invite people to come to um, a room that he rented. Actually rented a room, uh, and he would sit down, and then he would so-called, get rid of the ghostly, uh, uh, like say, presence in the person's life. So one day, some lady came, and he sat down with her. He would sit on one side of the table, and she would sit on the other side of the table. And he began to do his thing. I don't know exactly what he did, but what his technique was to get rid of the ghost. But while he began to do that, uh, the uh, the table started to shake, you know, and go up and down. And the lady that he was trying to help, uh, he's, you know, he realized that she was somehow or other in control of this table. The table started moving up and down and going like that, and scared the heck out of him, right? And he just got up and ran away. And he gave up trying to be a ghostbuster. He was making money by doing that, right? But that was too much for him, and he stopped doing it. And so he met some lady who probably had some mystical powers, and scared the heck out of him, you know. So better not do anything like that.
Maharaj, in India, there are so many people like this.
Yeah.
They have business.
Yes. Yes. It's not only India; it's all over the place. There's people like that. Yeah. They have these so-called ceremonies, they and sometimes they kill the person, in their zealous attempt to get rid of the ghost. They actually kill the person that they're trying to save. In their crazy ghost busting, techniques.
Maharaj, most of the time, they are not aware how powerful the other person, like the ghost, is, and their impurities, and they try to deal with all unknown things.
There's this one man. every day, many times a day, he would say, uh, "Glory be to God, and may the devil be cursed." And he'd say it out loud, and he'd say it many times during the day. So the devil got sick and tired of this guy always cursing him. So the devil uh, put a who he created a donkey that was, something that he was able to uh, you know uh, put in the vicinity of where this guy was, and every day when he'd come to work, he would see the donkey, and he would always notice it, but he wouldn't go near it because he thought it belonged to someone. But he kept seeing it day after day, and then he realized that no one owned this donkey. So he went up to the donkey and tied, put a rope on it and took it home. And then every day he would come with the donkey to work. Pretty soon he didn't even tie the donkey. The donkey would follow him. And then he uh, realized that the donkey could do things that were, helpful. So instead of him going home for lunch, he would tell the donkey, "Go get my lunch." And the donkey would go and bring him the lunch, right? And so he developed this very close relationship with this donkey. And one day, the donkey went to his watering, uh, the place where he would drink water, and the man was watching him, uh, and all of a sudden the donkey went into the faucet and disappeared. And the guy was shocked. And then he went and looked at the faucet, and he could see the ears of the donkey moving a little bit in the faucet. And he was like shocked, and he started saying, "The donkey went into the faucet," and he became like sort of possessed by this. And he started to say this, uh, and he went crazy, basically, right? And he kept telling, the donkey went into the faucet. The donkey went into the faucet like that. Now he wasn't able to do his work. He all day long he kept saying the donkey went into the faucet. So his wife got really scared. So he's going crazy. So some of the his friends, sort of sat down with him and they tried to convince him. They said, "Look, we know the donkey went into the faucet. Okay, we're not arguing with you, but if you keep saying this, you're going to lose your business. You won't be able to maintain your family. So you have to stop, saying it. And people think you're crazy, you know." So they sort of convinced them to stop saying it, right? So for a short period of time, he stopped saying it. Uh, but then one night, when he was walking back to his house, he went to the watering uh, uh, the fountain where they watered the donkeys and horses, and he looked into the faucet and he saw the ears of the donkey, and he said, "The donkey,
Went into the forest.
yeah, donkey went into the faucet." But this time he didn't say it to to people. He just said it to himself. Uh, now, why did that happen? Because every day previously he would say that uh, All glories to God, and may the devil be cursed. And he would say that many times during the day, right? When he'd wake up, when he'd go to work, when he'd come back home. And, he was always saying, glory be to God, and may the devil be cursed. So the devil got really sick and tired of this guy saying this. So he created this sort of imaginary donkey in the mind of this man. And because of that, he stopped talking about, the devil be cursed, and he started talking about the donkey. And the donkey, what happened was he saw this donkey, and after a few days, he would see it near the watering, uh, you know, uh, there was a watering
Sure.
area
Mhm.
where the horses and donkeys could drink water, fountain. And he he suddenly realized that no, the donkey didn't belong to anyone. So he took possession of the donkey, and the donkey became very like intimate with him. Like he would tell the donkey, "Look, I don't want to go home to get lunch. Go see my wife and bring me lunch." And the donkey would do that, right? So he developed this attachment to this donkey. And one day he took the donkey to the watering basin so he could drink some water. And then the donkey went into the faucet. And he was shocked, you know. And he started walking and saying, the donkey went into the faucet. And he kept saying that all the time. And then people thought, oh, he's going crazy, you know. And finally, some elders, they sat down with him and they said, look, we know that the donkey went into the faucet, okay? We're not saying you're lying or anything like that. But if you keep saying this, you're going to lose your business. Your family's going to be in trouble. You won't be able to maintain them, and you'll lose your house, everything. You'll destroy everything. You have to stop saying this. So eventually, the elders they convinced him to stop saying the donkey went into the faucet, right? So for a few days or weeks, he stopped saying it. But one day, he went back to the watering tank where the horses and donkeys would drink water, right? And he looked up the faucet like this. He bent his head and looked up to the faucet, and he saw the ears of the donkey moving. And he said, "Glory be to God, and may the devil be cursed."
Again.
Went back again, but this time he stopped saying it in public, but he kept saying it to himself. You know, so it's like an old timers story. You know. But there are situations in which people start to believe things that are imaginary or maybe not completely imaginary, and they get possessed by it. Sometimes someone will kill somebody, and when the police catch him and they say, "Why did you do it?" He said, "A voice told me to do it." They actually say that a voice told me to do it. Of course, the police don't believe it. But the way the man says it, like he says, I was told to do it by this voice, or that I realized that my daughter, my son, was possessed by a ghost, you know, or that my daughter or my son was a ghost. So there are people that begin to believe these things, and sometimes they kill their own children or another person. That's why it's very important to chant Hare Krishna and associate with devotees to get these silly, crazy ideas out of the mind. And the mind can play tricks on people. And why? Well, if they are, you know, uh, taking marijuana, using marijuana or other drugs, or engaging in very sinful activities, the mind can play tricks on them and they can do horrible things. Why don't you look up uh, a father believes his daughter is a ghost or a demon, and he kills the daughter. Or the parents do a ghost busting seance on their kid, believing that their child is uh, has been yeah, taken over by a ghost. And then they do their so-called ceremonies, ghost busting ceremonies that sometimes kill the child. Is there anything like that?
There's something in India, Maharaj, recently.
Yeah. What's it say?
The article is opening for me. I'll read it in a second.
What does it say?
For some reason, the article is not opening. At least read
Must
it.
be.
Maybe it's ghostly. Ghostly haunted.
The title says, Father murders daughter, believing her to be possessed by evil spirit. In a tragic incident in Madhya Pradesh, a 45-year-old man killed his 15-year-old daughter after mistaking her psychological issues for signs that she was possessed by evil spirit.
It's in India.
India.
Yeah.
Yeah, even recently in US 2022.
Yeah, this one was December 9th, 2024.
Mm,
Wow.
wow.
You see, it's happening even now. Any other?
This was 2022 in Indiana. A 5-year-old
Instead of India, it's Indiana
in US.
in the US.
5-year-old boy was found deceased in a suitcase in India. His mother reportedly believed her son was possessed by demons and referenced exorcism and occult in her social media posts. She described attempts to exorcise what she believed to be demoniac forces within him. So
She put him in a suitcase
something like that.
and he died.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then in 2003, there was an 80-year-old autistic boy died.
Autistic,
Yeah.
not artistic. Autistic.
Autistic. Yeah.
I'll read this, Maharaj, it opened. A man has, this happened December 9th, 2024 in
Wow.
India.
Wow, it's recent.
A man has murdered his 15-year-old daughter in MP's Madhya Pradesh's Siddhi district, mistaking her psychological ailments for signs of spirit possession. The victim, Geeta, lived in Banta village,
Her name is Gita.
Geeta,
Wow. Okay.
around 35 kilometers from Siddhi district headquarters. The teenager suddenly started showing symptoms of psychological illness a few days ago. But her father, 45-year-old Sukhpati, thought it was the work of an evil spirit. On Saturday, he started beating her with a pair of tongs. Terrified and in agony, she tried to run away from him, but he picked up a stone and hurled it at her. The police. It hit her on the head. She collapsed and died on the spot. But he still believed that he helped her. Sukhpati not only remained on the spot, but also narrated the incident to locals who rushed to the scene, said sources. His wife filed a police complaint, leading to his arrest.
Wow. You see, it's happening even today.
It's seen the accused, like the murderer, was trying to cure her when the girl ran away out of fear and fell down.
Wow. So this ghost busting business is dangerous. Yeah. And it's happening today. Okay, so
About the Prabhupada on that house.
okay, you found it.
A few lines, I just wanted. It's there is some conversation going on with Prabhupada. I don't know what is the conversation, but Prabhupada is telling in that conversation. Prabhupada told about the haunted house of Loknath Mulik in Calcutta. Prabhupada had also rented a ghost house in Lucknow. And Prabhupada is saying it's in quote, I am not afraid of ghosts, he said. I am ghost proof. That Prabhupada is said. In England, there are also many ghosts. They are generally evil and sometimes they even kill.
It's Prabhupada speaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can be seen sometimes entering a latrine.
A latrine. Toilet.
Or sitting on a pillar. By offering pinda, one can free his forefathers from ghostly bodies. In Mayapur, there
Pinda, so it's like a rice ball or something. And they do some ceremony. You have to go like this with it, you know. Your thumb, it pushes it this way.
Tarpan.
Yeah.
Most of the people are not authentic. I have seen in India. They help to do this ceremony, but they are not that good. People in general, they are not.
Prabhupada did it.
But this is another big business.
Yeah, but he didn't do something like that. He chanted Hare Krishna.
So it says in Mayapur there were mountain ghosts, but not anymore. By our chanting Hare Krishna, ghosts are driven away.
Yeah. One time we purchased some property a long time ago, and it was supposed to be ghostly haunted. So I, you know, I started staying in that building, and first night while I was sleeping, I felt I was awakened gradually from my sleep because I felt there was someone, sitting on my head. There's some real heavy weight on my head, and I was still, mostly still sleeping, but when I felt this very heaviness on my head, and little by little, I was waking up, and then I realized that it has to be a ghost. I started chanting Hare Krishna, and it went away. Right. So yeah, and that's because this building was known to be ghostly haunted. Right. So uh, then what happened was that the reason I was sort of like attacked by the ghost because the ghost was staying in the higher levels of the house. So I purposely I heard about this, and that's why I went to sleep in the upper floors of the house, and that's when the ghost attacked me. I stopped sleeping in the upper parts of the house.
Which place did you?
Huh?
Which place, like in country or?
I forget now. It's so long ago. But I was definitely, attacked by a ghost.
Did he come back, Maharaj, afterwards?
Well, I didn't go up. I didn't go up there anymore. I would take rest, on the lower levels of the house. Yeah. Uh, but I did chant Hare Krishna.
So Prabhupada is saying by our chanting Hare Krishna, ghosts are driven away.
Haribol. That's why we should always chant Hare Krishna. Yeah.
One question, if a neophyte is dealing with such similar problem and their chanting may not be that pure or effective, so what they should do? Like they should.
That's a good question. There was one guru in our movement. He's a very nice person, and he had either it was his daughter it was a disciple. She got ghostly haunted. So he tried everything, chanting Hare Krishna. He was just chanting and chanting, and it didn't help. So he took her to a ghost busting seance. He found some, people who would have these seances. And he took her there, and he witnessed the seance of, that took place. And after that, it sort of influenced his mind, and he became ghostly. Let's say uh, attacked, and he was a guru. He was a very good devotee, but when he witnessed the ghost busting ceremony, there were a whole bunch of ladies that were going around with long hair, and they were screaming and howling and things like that. That was part of the ceremony, I guess, and it affected him, and he gave up being a devotee.
This is like that, almost like the exorcist, because apparently these ghosts obviously look for the weak minds,
Yeah.
weak people who don't
Is
have
it a
strong.
moment of weakness?
Yeah. So even in such a.
And he was a very, very good devotee, very nice person. But I don't know what happened. He just got ghostly haunted himself, and then he left the movement. Party ball.
What's the solution for those who is seeking for help, like neophyte people?
Yeah.
So what they should approach to like some advanced devotees, or like what they can, how they will deal in their.
First thing is you should bathe regularly, 2 or 3 times a day. Cut your fingernails. Bathe 2 or 3 times a day, and chant Hare Krishna. Associate with devotees. Eventually the ghosts will go away. Ghosts like to, they like to possess the body of someone who has bad hygiene, and don't cut their fingernails, they don't bathe regularly, don't brush their teeth, and so forth. That's the beginning of the downward spiral. And then if they have a weakness, a tendency to want to commit suicide, that means they're like, okay, now the ghost is taking possession of them, and they try to commit suicide. Um, those are symptoms of being ghostly haunted. So what can you do? Well, I mean, like the first thing is bathe regularly. Cut your fingernails, bathe regularly, have always clean clothes on. Usually the ghost enters the body when you're sleeping at night, and then your saliva comes out of your mouth, and it has a very bad smell. That means the ghost entered into your body. And the saliva that is coming out of your mouth while you're sleeping, and your mouth opens, it has a very bad smell. So I've experienced that a few times, So it's very important to be very clean and obviously chant Hare Krishna. And it's the ghosts like to enter into the body of a person while they're sleeping, and especially when the saliva is coming out of their mouth, and that saliva has a very bad smell to it or taste to it. Then you know that some ghost has entered into your body. You know. So cleanliness is number one thing to get rid of a ghost. Bathe regularly, always have clean clothes on, and always chant and not have dark thoughts. Um, People are usually because of bad hygiene and not being serious about chanting. Uh, they can be very easily ghostly haunted. The ghosts are always looking for people who have a weak desire to live, right? So those are the type of people they can take control of. A ghost is a person who does not have a gross body because they committed suicide or something like that. But they have strong material desires, but they can't satisfy these desires because they don't have a gross body. They only have a subtle body. So their only possibility for sense gratification is to take control of another person's body. And those persons are usually people that are, taking drugs and not being, not bathing regularly and having very bad habits. And those are the type of people that get ghostly haunted. And oftentimes they'll commit suicide. There are a lot of people that commit suicide, right? And why? Well, they might have some kind of disease, and they prefer to commit suicide rather than to keep suffering. Others might just be, haunted by a ghost, and eventually, they commit suicide. Of course, suicide never solves the problem. If you commit suicide, you become a ghost. Now it's worse. Your situation is worse because you still have the same gross material desires, but now you have a subtle body that now you suffer even more. But that's the people that commit suicide, they don't understand that. They think, well, if I commit suicide, then I won't have this mental problem anymore or this physical problem or whatever. But the problem gets worse. Now you have a subtle body, you don't have a gross body, you can't satisfy your material desires. So that's the worst thing you can do is to commit suicide to get rid of your problems. That only multiplies your problem because you end up without a gross body, but you still have the gross desires. Haribol. So if you ever see anyone who wants to commit suicide, you have to convince them it's going to be worse because your life doesn't end. But what happens is you still have those desires, but you can't satisfy them because now you don't have a gross body. You become a ghost. Yes.
Krishna Maharaj, very unfortunate. Yes, because when somebody commits suicide, the people around them, their close family, they all suffer. Um, but people think that the person who has committed suicide, at least, oh, they've gone back to light. They have found relief.
Relief from the pain.
If all problems are solved, it's hard, but at least they found the solution. They went back to light. Yeah, everybody thinks like that.
Yeah, it's a big mistake. Their situation is much worse
Yeah.
because they don't have a gross body anymore. They have a subtle body, but gross desires. Yeah. Yeah. You see how people make mistakes, and false narratives. They'll think, oh, now that person is in peace.
So that will encourage more people also. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll get peace. Yeah, ignorance, right?
I mean, who says? I mean, generally.
In general, everywhere, right? If somebody passes away, the message people get like, I feel so bad for the family, but they found peace.
Yeah.
I'm glad they went back
This
to
is
God.
also the reason why the euthanasia, what is it? Like during the, towards the ending of life, legal
yes.
suicide. Yeah. So that's why they also think. Actually, a friend of mine, he was telling like, that towards his end of life, he doesn't want to go through all the suffering. He was telling.
Yeah.
Oh, so he wants to be euthanized?
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody says that because when I can't move, if nobody says, I'll just end my life. At that point, you can kill me. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
I just don't. I want to die without any suffering. If at all I'm not able to take care of myself, just kill me.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that.
And they think that that's a smart planning.
Yeah. That's part of the planning, Maharaj.
Well, there was this one Armenian guy. He became famous because he helped people kill themselves that were, suffering because of some kind of disease or whatever. And he was a doctor. So he got the name, the death doctor. And he got arrested for helping people commit suicide. He had some kind of a machine or something that, you could push the button and you would die. Why don't you look him up? Doctor Death. He was a real doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Zach Kevorkian.
Kevorkian, yeah, he was an Armenian guy. Yeah. And he helped people die. And he eventually got arrested, put into jail.
There's also another Dr. Joseph Mengele, Angel of Death.
Mengele was a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did all kinds of medical experiments on people.
Yeah.
And killed them. He was a demon, a real demon. But Dr. Kevorkian, he thought he was doing the right thing by helping people die, stop their miseries. But actually, it'll make it worse for them to commit suicide. But he had some kind of a machine or something. You press the button and you die.
Yeah, he attempted in about 130 suicide.
Yeah.
Suicide?
Yeah, he didn't kill anybody, right? But he had some kind of a machine or something, you push the button and you die. Yeah.
He was convicted of murder
in
1999.
He killed a lot of people. I don't know, about 100 people or something.
130.
130.
He was convicted of murder.
Yeah, his nickname was Dr. Death.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dr. Kevorkian. Unbelievable. Okay, well, we'll stop there before we become more morbid tonight. That's the afternoon of today. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Ram, Ram, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada.